Hey guys, welcome to my first Q&A. Now I'm having to split the first one into two parts because I had so many questions that I wanted to answer as many as I could, so I thought I would do two. So here we go. Okay, next question is from Jess Ralton. What is the worst horse and dressage related advice you have ever been given? So the worst advice I ever got given was in a lesson, and the instructor told me to ignore my feel. Don't worry about what it feels like, it just has to look good. And I think for me, because it's so important how my horses are going, that they feel comfortable when they're going, that they're going in the correct way, in the classical way, for their comfort, for their enjoyment, and for our partnership. I think it was possibly the worst thing anyone could have ever said to me, and it really enforced into me how I wanted to be as a rider. Okay, next question is from Laura Sutton, equestrian. What did you do when you left school? So I left school at 16, and I'm not suggesting that that is the only way to go, but that is the route I took. I did get a lot of stick, well actually my parents did get a lot of stick, my mum did, from other mums going like, your daughter's not going to amount to anything, you're letting her leave school, she needs her A-level, she needs to go to uni, and my mum was like, whatever. So good old sassy mum. Anyway, I remember the day I finished school, and everyone was like, woo, it's party time, we're gonna go here, we're gonna do this, we're going on a holiday here, we're gonna chill, gonna relax. I started my new job the day after we left school. So I literally threw myself in. It was on a big dressage yard, and I stayed there for 3 years and learnt valuable lessons there. Next question is from Petite Dressage. If you could turn back time, sorry. Would you change anything, and if so, what? Okay, this is gonna sound so cliche, but however painful things have been that have happened to me, I don't think I would change any of it. And I always say, if I hadn't have been like a negative Nancy, no offense to any Nancys out there by the way, not all you are negative, it just rhymes. If I hadn't have been negative and I haven't had the bad experiences I had, I would not be the person I am today. So for example, if I'd always been positive, how could I have ever given out advice on how people can change their mindset around? So I've always known that everything that's happened to me has been for a reason, and sometimes when it's happening you can't see it. But if you looked at it on a timeline, then you'd go, oh, I needed to go through that to get to here. I also needed a certain amount of strength and character in me to deal with things that are happening now, and also things that will happen in the future. And if I didn't have these experiences, then I might not be as strong as I am now, and then I might not be able to handle it. So I think a good way of looking at it is like, you see people who have shot to like fame, stardom, and how they can sometimes not handle it very well, and that's because it's happened so quickly. They haven't been able to adapt into the person who could handle it. So I always think, yeah, it's better sometimes if it takes a little bit longer to get where you want to get, because then you are a strong enough person to deal with it all. Does that make sense? But yeah, that is my answer. Okay, next question is from Danielle Loins. How do you start and continue to train the elevation and extension of the trot? So this is a really good question. I would say, if you want to start teaching this, make sure that your horse is properly through, so that means that they're working over their back, and also make sure that they're into 2 reins. They have to also be off your leg. So what I'd start by doing is doing simple walk, trot, trot, walk transitions, and then when you feel like they're really going off your leg and really listening to the half halt, then you start to move it into on and back. So that is where you go from working trot to collector trot to working trot to collector trot. As the horse gets stronger and becomes more on your aids, you'll see a bigger difference between the two. Then when that starts happening, you will find that as you half halt a little bit, and then you can put your leg on, and that's where the suspension comes from. But it's so important, if you want to start doing this, that the horse is in front of your leg. Otherwise you'll get a hovery feeling, and they'll suck behind your leg, and they won't want to travel forwards within the movement. The great thing about this as well, it is the beginning and the end of an extended trot. So if you want to improve your extended trot, it's really important that you improve the beginning and the end of it. Make sure the horse is going off one aid forwards and coming back from one aid. Next question is from Ellis Finney. Ellis? told you I'm bad with names. What was the most powerful quote or piece of information that helped you with your mindset? And what do you recommend for others struggling with positive mindset in competition? Okay, so I think when I first started improving my mindset, and when I started to look into it, I think the best thing that stuck out for me is I read an article and it said you can change your mindset. It's not set in stone. Because what I was thinking before that is, oh, I was born a negative person, this is how I am, I can't change it. And I think I'd always believed that I couldn't change it. So when I read this information that it is possible to change anything with your mindset, then I was like, wow, like, I can do this. The other one as well that kept me going is the "you got this." That is what I used to always say to myself. If I was doubting myself, it was a quick, easy kind of like pick me up, and then I'd be like, that one saying would kind of remind me of everything I've learned, and I still use it to this day. And as for the positive mindset in competition, I would say the best bit of advice I could give for that is don't just think about improving your mindset for competing, think about improving your mindset in every area of your life, so that when you know you're about to compete, you don't have to like switch to being positive. You just need to think about trying to be as positive all the time, and then competing is just another thing. Next question is from Kitty Juggins. How would you deal with an exceptionally backwards horse that shuts down when you put your leg on and can't be beaten out of it as it gets far, far worse? So I think this is one of the most common issues, is when a horse is behind the leg or not self-going, and especially I know from teaching, it's always a thing that I start on first, so I always get the horse a little bit more in front of the leg. So it's important to remember with your horse, they can feel a fly land on them, so they should be able to feel a soft aid. So a great way to start training this and start changing this is thinking about your leg aid, thinking about what you're doing. And I always start this with people I teach. I always do halt, walk, walk, halt transitions and look at how the horse is reacting to the leg. So what you want to think about is giving the horse a squeeze to start with. And what I say by a squeeze is it has to be quite quick, so like that, not a like squeeze and grip. The problem is if you grip, you kind of suffocate the horse and then they don't want to move forward. So it has to be like quite a quick aid like that. So it's a squeeze from the inner calf. If they don't listen to that, then you have to back it up with a stronger aid to get them to move off your leg. So what this is going to do is when you put your leg on and you give that soft squeeze, they know if they don't listen to that, then a sharper one's going to be coming, so then they learn to go off the softer aid. Does that make sense? It's important as well when you give the sharper aid that you don't just gallop them off, go gallivanting, let go of the reins, go for like a flapping around like a cowboy, because in a test you can't do this, and also it doesn't necessarily get them in front of the leg, you just going faster. What you have to think about is engaging the hind leg. So that is making the hind leg step further underneath them. So I always think about the hind leg stepping more underneath the girth, and then you will feel that the horse will naturally want to take you forwards more. This can take a little bit of practice, but the more consistent you are with it, the more off the leg the horse is going to go, and it does make such a big difference. So yeah, give that a go. Next question is from Carter. I can't pronounce her last name. Anyway, you can see it on the screen. Favorite exercises for teaching flying changes. My guy is not the biggest fan of poles, which is making it a bit harder. If you have any good tips or exercises. Okay, so I actually taught this to someone the other day, so it's really good, it's nice and fresh in my mind. The important thing to remember with flying changes, it's not ever the flying change that's the issue, it is the canter. So it needs to be in balance, it needs to have a moment of suspension, it needs to be straight, it needs to be on your aids, the horse needs to be in front of your leg, and then the change is really easy. So I'd say my best bit of advice if you wanted to start doing flying changes with your horse is make sure that you can do a really good simple change. So what I mean by a really good simple change is that you can do it anywhere in the school. They don't fall in a heap when you do it. They can collect the canter to the same speed of the walk, and then they can get to the walk easily. They have a nice collected walk and then they go back into canter with ease. And then I would say what you need to do is start making the walk strides less and less. So start with like 4 walk strides, then 3, then 2, then 1, and then get them really nice and off your aid and in balance. Yeah, and that will really help. I would say as well, it's very important to remember if you want to get your horse to do a change, they need a moment in the air to change over. If the horse's canter is flat and strung out, they physically cannot change, and this is when you get problems like running off, late behind, flying left or right. So yeah, just think about that. Next question is from Fiona Beale. Working from home, how do you keep work-life balance? I don't manage this one. Being totally honest with you, either do I. I would say at the moment, working hard and working all the time is what is holding me together. I actually really need work because I am not in a relationship at the moment. I don't have massive number of friends. I would find myself getting very bored and probably becoming quite a negative person if I didn't work really hard. So I would say at the moment it's doing me good, but it is very important to have a rest, and that is something that I'm completely honest about. I have not found a balance to yet. I feel like as I progress and, you know, learn and change, that it will get better. But I would say never feel guilty for having a break or having some time off, because I do feel like in this day and age, and especially in the equestrian world, there's a thing around like having to work hard all the time, and you kind of look down on if you're not. So don't let that pressure build up. Have relaxing time, renew yourself, and then you'll be better for you and better for your horses. Eve Frangely, how do you get up so early in the morning? Seriously, in need of help. Okay, Eve, I used to be the world's worst at getting up in the morning. I used to get up 5 minutes before work because I work at home. I used to get up 5 minutes before work, roll out of bed, shove some clothes on, brush my teeth, go outside and work. Like literally that was it. And I used to hit the snooze button about 6-7 times. So I'd have an alarm at 6, then an alarm at 6:10, then 20 past. Anyway, it would go like that, and I'd just be like, oh, I cannot get out of bed. So then I read a book called The 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins, and she was saying about, basically if you read it, it's about doing things that you don't want to do and just counting 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and doing them. And the first task she sets you is to get up earlier in the morning than you normally do, and how you're going to do that is by going 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get out of bed. I'm not gonna lie, when I first read this I was like, as if that is gonna get me out of bed. And I'm not gonna lie and say that every time I've used this rule it's got me out of bed, but it hasn't been a massive help to me. Also, she explained in her book that if you keep hitting the snooze button, so for example, if I woke up at 6 and then hit the snooze button, my body then goes into another 90-minute cycle of sleep. And if I get up before the 90-minute cycle is over, I will be in like a sleep coma-y thing for ages. And that is why it used to take me literally 4 hours to wake up. So one, don't have loads of snooze, or don't have loads of alarms and loads of snooze buttons. And just use that 5-second rule, because I honestly was the one person who could never get out of bed, and now I get up at 6 o'clock. Note with this, by the way, it does not make the feeling any better of getting out of bed, it just makes you do it. So that is the end of part 2 for my Q&A. If you guys have enjoyed these Q&As, let me know and I can make more, because I really enjoyed doing them. Yeah, and I'll see you for the next one.